intentional. This is just how they spun it. And it's kind of my fault because I wasn't thinking about narratives. They're making it seem like I got mad because I was losing to him. I guess he's smarter than me and more knowledgeable, so I lost to him in a debate. And then I got mad, and then I coped, and then I blamed Zerka for losing. So, like, there's so many facets to it. First, I lose and get mad, and the reason I'm mad is because I lost the debate. And then me getting pissed at Zerka only reinforces that narrative, right? But obviously you guys know that's not what happened, right? He got his ass whooped the whole fucking time for 6 hours. Then at the very, very end, the dude was annoying the shit out of me. So I yelled. Of course, I yell in every debate. And then I got pissed at Zerka because he wasn't defending my character at the end. It wasn't about the debate. It was about the personal... Baby, let's go. Thank you, Sigman. It was about the personal attacks and defamation. Anyone who bitches about shit like that is a cuck. And I'm gonna explain why it's such a bitch move to bitch about narratives. Because we could sit here all day and go, no, the narratives are wrong, that's not what happened. No, the narratives are wrong, it's not what happened. Narratives are everything. It's why we're doing this, right? It's why we're out here in this public sphere of public opinion and social opinion. Because ultimately people are gonna spin a narrative. They're not gonna focus on the substantive content. But here's what I wanted to talk about, right? Why am I a Mongol? Why am I a Mongol, chat? Why do I say this is the Wild West? Why am I the Khan? Why am I a Mongol? What is going on here? What is this kingdoms and Mongols and battles that we're talking about, right? What is all this shit? Well, I'm kind of botching it. We can look to Hegel for a second. Let's turn to Hegel just for a second. Promise you it's going to be very simple to understand. It's not going to be too crazy. It's not going to be too out of this realm. When you look at it from a Hegelian perspective, Hegel has a word. He calls this spiritual animal kingdom. So in Hegel's philosophy, he outlines how we as individuals realize our inner freedom through the external state. The state gives us rights and we oblige it with duties. But then he talks at the end in his philosophy of right about something called the spiritual animal kingdom. What is the spiritual animal kingdom? All of you people who have an issue with this debate, sophistry, and this rhetoric, and this smoke and mirrors, dishonest tactics, and all this rhetorical, emotional stuff, you should really pay attention here, right? Because I'm only gonna give you one fucking chance to stop being nerds, and actually, I'm gonna explain it to you intellectually so you can shut the fuck up and stop acting so high and mighty like you're above all this dumb bullshit. So with the spiritual animal kingdom, I'm not going to give you a thorough explanation. I myself am still struggling to really understand. It's so ambiguous what Hegel means by this to me, right? But the way you can pin it down is this. There is somehow a distinction between our inner subjective feeling as individuals and our intentions when we creating something or putting something out there in the public and the way it's going to be received by the public. So for example, in my state of mind in this debate, it's just me bullying a nerd and putting a nerd in his place. The actual effect of what I did was just generate all of these extra narratives that had nothing to do with how I personally was experiencing it. Let's say you're an artist, right? And you craft a work of art and you have some kind of idea in your head of what this means and what it's about and what its implications are, but then you put it out into the public and the public has an entirely different response and reaction. Well, for Hegel, that sphere of the public, narratives and rumors and, judgments and perceptions and arbitrary perceptions, things like that, I think that's what Hegel means. I'm open to being corrected because here my knowledge is not... This is something I struggle with Hegel, was the spiritual animal kingdom still. But this is the spiritual animal kingdom. And the reason it's a spiritual animal kingdom is because just like the jungle in an animal kingdom, you cannot account for what the public effect is going to be. It's like a completely arbitrary kind of wilderness. And the reason debate culture is so fucking, such a good example of that is like the most arbitrary thing can tip a debate optically. Let's say I'm debating someone and I sneeze and then I tear up. Just because of a physical reaction, completely arbitrary. The narrative is that in the debate I cried. They brought me to tears. It's a wilderness. You can't account for it. You can't control it. It's like an animal kingdom, right? And yet, the reason it's spiritual is it's because it's this kind of immaterial, intangible sphere of perceptions and subjective interpretations and narratives that's just like spiritual. It's like it's not something you can ground. So that's how I understand Hegel's spiritual animal kingdom, botching it and obviously not giving an adequate full explanation, but that's how I understand it. You know, it really put me into perspective because I was watching the show Marco Polo and I was watching The Wedding, and I realized something that I've always known is that, you know, a good way to explain this to you guys, and this is what gave me the idea to explain it to you, of why traditionalism is so important. What do you think traditions are meant to account for? Do you think traditions are about your subjective feeling as an individual? No. That doesn't matter. You can feel whatever you want. Traditions are meant to describe and to give form, to give the form to this wild kingdom of just arbitrary public perceptions, honor and shame. Like the reason why, for example, virginity is important in marriage, in traditional societies, it's not because of the subjective aspect. Of course, from that perspective, who cares, right? Nothing matters. It's just, what is the public saying about you? Marriage is a way to maintain your honor in this face of the public sphere. And you can say, oh, I don't care what the public thinks all you want, but that's still what's going to define you. Traditionalism or whatever, right? All that is just a way of managing those things and being able to live in a society and live in some kind of like thing bigger than yourself while being able to manage the public perceptions and expectations about you in a consistent and, you know, familiar way. And it's also a source of great dignity because not only is it about what you're doing and what the people around you involved with you are doing, it's about how you validate yourself in the social realm. That's what honor means. That's what pride means. That's what dignity means. Like a lot of people respond to traditionalism. For example, this has come to totally arbitrary wedding practices. And they're just like, hey, this is stupid. This is like superstition. Why do we have to, you know, pour milk into a bowl and drink? Why do we have to do all these dumb things that, you know, it doesn't even make sense? Because you're thinking of it in an individualistic way. You're not thinking about the fact that this is a way people manage and attend to this just public, and you don't really understand this until you're a public figure, because again, I can do the slightest things and narratives are going to get spun about me that are meant to dishonor me and shame me for things I have nothing to do with, right? Traditionalism is just a way to be able to manage that and just kind of conform to reasonable social expectations just so you can be a free individual. And my understanding of what it truly means to be a free modern subject is that we do need a traditional, substantive, completely arbitrary. It doesn't have to make rational sense to you. If we have this completely arbitrary way of ordering ourselves, we won't be thrown to the mercy of this wilderness of the spiritual animal kingdom, where we're just being defined in ways that are unclear and not familiar to us and not accustomed to us and completely at odds with who we are. On the one hand, we're private figures with inner feelings, right? And on the other hand, we're public people who are defined by the expectations and perceptions around us. And liberalism is trying to make it seem like those are the same thing, and they're not. Liberals are the type that go, well, who cares what the public thinks? That doesn't matter. All that matters is how I feel. But that's not true, because you're still being defined by these public perceptions. Like, look at Twitch debates. Do you really think Twitch debates are about, like, individuals battling their individual ideas? No, it's about people trying to save face in public from being humiliated and being, you can act like you don't care about what people think, but that's every single reason for the actions you're doing can be explained on those terms. You know who's an example of a guy who doesn't care about what the public thinks? Me. At least in that debate. I didn't care what they thought. I literally just wanted to assert dominance over that guy. I didn't care what anyone thought. I just wanted to get in his head and at least show the chat yeah, look what I'm doing to your streamer. That's how I was thinking about it. But little did I know, I was being defined in a way that had nothing to do with my own intentions. They start doing armchair psychology. Oh, Haas is insecure. Haas is coping. Haas cares so much. And I don't care. Like, imagine you don't care about something and somebody goes to you, oh, you care so much about this. You care so much. What can you say? What literally can you say? You can't say anything. It's like, what if you just don't care? What then, right? The more you like show that you don't care, the more they're gonna accuse you of intentionally acting that way to cope with the fact that you do care. And it's like, but you can't complain about that. That's the thing. You can't complain about it because, again, we're not just subjective individuals. We are at the mercy of just this general perception that we're all trying to address and refer to, right? It's what people call optics. And a lot of intellectuals, they come to me like, Hans, don't you think this shit is stupid? Actually, no one comes to me and says this, but I see people commenting like, dude, this is stupid. Debate, bro, culture is stupid. It's not actually about rational debate or anything. It's just about chest beating and guerrilla bullshit. And I think saying, yeah, that's very true. It's not a site of truth. It's not a site of intellectual truth, at least. 100% it's not. But look at the debate I had with perspective philosophy. Is that actually a debate in the public's eye about who's right and who's wrong on the meat and potato substantive points? No, it's a debate about who knows their shit versus who's lying and doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? That's how people are gonna see it. You gotta understand that